This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. Let's start things off by getting musical. Odds are you have songs that speak to you or take you back to a specific moment in your life. For me, it's Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity music video on MTV, or staying up late to watch Alicia Keys perform Diary on BET's Midnight Love. You guys remember that, right? There's a reason these memories are so engraved in our heads. Scientifically speaking, music helps your brain build memories. Researcher Dr. Amy Belfi at the Missouri University of Science and Technology did a study comparing reactions to music versus seeing pictures of celebrities. She found that the memories people had looked different.
And what we found is that the music evoked memories tended to be more episodically detailed, so they had more components that were actually parts of memories of events from your life, whereas the face cues, the celebrities, were just triggering kind of more factual statements about the people and not as much like vivid or rich detail.
And music can be a context cue that gets the brain to remember the details of a given moment.
When you hear it later, it kind of like puts you back in that context. We can't ignore like the emotional component of it, that, okay, we know that like emotion facilitates memory, that highly emotional things are remembered more, and music is just a good emotional cue.
As for the songs that can stand out the most, this might not come as a big surprise, but the songs you like between the ages of about 15 and 30 tend to stick with you the most.
People tend to have more memories from that period of life, that like adolescence, early adulthood period of life. There's different explanations, like, well, that's when a lot of life-defining things happen to you, right? Like graduating from high school, graduating from college, getting married, having kids, etc. And then with the musical component, we also know that that's when people tend to develop their preferences.
I don't want to think about some of the music I was listening to closer to 15, but I feel like my tastes have aged nicely over the years, like fine wine, you know? So what's going on in the brain when music is building and reactivating these memories? We spoke to Dr. Kiminobu Sugaya, a neuroscientist at the University of Central Florida, who teaches a class on music and the brain. By the way, he's got a song from his formative years that sticks with him too. For him, it's Hotel California by the Eagles.
When I was young, I was driving to the beach with my girlfriend and switch on the radio. That's where the Hotel California came out. So those music stick to my brain.
He says the brain is structured to see music as more distinctive and less forgettable than regular speech.
Now, when you learn the ABC, how did you learn? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Well, putting the music, that's the way easier to learn it, easier to memorize it. But if you memorize it as the A, B, C, no music, then easy to forget.
He told us your brain is also doing something slightly different with how it stores the memory.
Hippocampus is the center of the thinking, making the memory, and then recall the memory. But by the aging, those hippocampal function start losing it. But if the amygdala can activate the hippocampus, so then the hippocampus can work better.
This can be huge for providing some care for older people, especially those who have Alzheimer's disease or dementia. Research already shows that individualized music can help boost behavior and mental health, at least in the short term. The nonprofit Music and Memory has worked with states to allow nursing and elder care facilities to have workers be trained in a program that allows them to help patients pick their favorite music. Joining us now is one of their board members, Conchetta Tomeno. She is the executive director and co-founder of the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function. Dr. Tomeno, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
What effects have we seen when music therapy has been introduced for folks with Alzheimer's and dementia, and why do we think those effects are happening?
Anybody who's witnessed a person with dementia responding to familiar music knows that it looks like a miracle that this person who doesn't seem to recognize anything could remember a favorite song. But we know now through neuroscience that music affects almost every part of the brain, and that when we experience music throughout our life that has personal importance and is linked to emotional events or special people in our lives, all of those things converge and help us to not only remember the music, but even help somebody who's lost memory function to some degree to remember that music and to remember all the feelings and the aspects and the associations attributed or combined with that piece of music. And so that is very resilient. We see it, that response lasting even with people with severe dementia.
Tell us a bit about how music and memory fits in here. What has the group been doing to expand the use of music in care facilities?
That's an important question, because music and memory was started because we saw the effects of autobiographical music and the potential of connecting with people who had Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And yet the use of personalized music and the access to these people's music wasn't always available and isn't always available to people who are in an institution. Music therapists, of course, have been able to work one-to-one with patients, but even there's not enough music therapists to do this great work. And so music and memory was formed to really start giving access or allowing for access through the use of MP3 players and headphones, and training staff. And that's the important part, is to train staff how to use personalized music effectively so everybody can have the sense of comfort and connection that's so important to quality of life.
I know a lot of folks may be caring for older relatives who live alone or who live at home with them or otherwise can't get care at a facility. How can some of these principles be applied to help folks who might not be able to afford that access?
Some of the general guidance that we provide, when you think about music that may be important to your loved one, start thinking about the songs, the type of music they listen to. Think about what music would have been popular when they were teenagers and in their early adulthood. If you're a couple, think about the places you traveled to or the songs you sang to your children. And then play those songs. Use an iPad, use the internet. One of the beautiful things is we have such access to music now online. So look around, play some songs, see what your loved one's reaction is. And if they perk up and respond, then create a playlist. Use your phone, use an MP3 player, use your tablet, and start putting together those. And then start thinking about how to use that music for different situations. So if your loved one gets a little agitated at certain times, there may be certain songs that calm them down. Use those in those situations. I knew a man who was taking care of his wife and had trouble getting her to the bathroom or to do dressing and things like that. They used to love to dance. And so his trick was to put on Duke Ellington and said, "Hun, let's dance a little bit." And as soon as she got out of the chair, he would dance over to the restroom and help take care of her.
It's very fascinating to hear about this work and this research. Conchetta Tomeno is the executive director and co-founder of the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function. Dr. Tomeno, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.